and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is more of a vlog style / sit down and chat, and I want to chat about balancing our life, and I want to chat about the expectations that we get from society, expectations we get from parents, we put on ourselves, and also just in general like ways that we can like work on balancing our life, because I am a firm believer in having a balance of things, because between work and your personal life, and then also balancing other things like your eating, your mental health, I think they are all super important and really tie in to like how you feel as a person, which I think is super important to leading a happier life. So let's jump into it. My name is Ellen Henry, and I am a lover of all things handstand and circus life and personal development and all of that kind of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, please give it a like. You know, if you're like, yes, this is awesome, love this video, bam. And also let me know down in the comments what kind of videos you want to see. Like, you know, this will probably be my last video when you watch it, if you watch it when it comes out, my last video for 2022. So let me know down in the comments like what you want to see more of from me, what you are enjoying. Yeah, that would be super amazing. But let's dive into today's video. Yeah. So I guess the first thing that comes to people's minds when they think about this is your like work life and your personal life and balancing them out. A big thing that I'm going to chat about with all of these things is finding what works for you, because ultimately everyone is different. Like my life is very different to someone that works like a 9 to 5, because it's like they know that like 9 to 5 time is like dedicated to their work, and then usually, well, I don't know, I'm making an assumption, they might find it really easy to like switch off from work when they get home, because they're like, I leave work at work and then I go home. Or that could be something that you struggle with, is if you do take your work home and you do continue to do work, it's like maybe you set boundaries in with that, where you're like, okay, 5 p.m, 6 p.m, whenever you finish work, you're like, work stays at work, and then I go home, and this is like your you time. This is when you get to relax. This is when you might get to do some fun hobbies, or you might take care of yourself in some other areas in life. So that is very different to someone like me or other creators, where we work for ourselves, and so we can kind of really set our own hours, and so that can be very hard as well, like with the person taking work back to home after they finish work. For creators and like people like them, it's very hard to not like work all the time, and you need to be super strict with yourself in setting like boundaries for when you are going to work and when you're not going to work. So for example, for me, I like to wake up in the morning, do my morning routine, and then once that's done, I sit down and I usually do a couple hours of work. That's like my solid chunk of like work in the day. I then do like normal things, like I have lunch, I have a nap, which might not be that normal, but I definitely need it. And then I usually do like training in the afternoon, and then if I need to, like I'll do more work in the evenings. But something that I struggle with, that I'm sure lots of other people do as well, is not working too much. Like that, those evenings when I do have free, my tendency is to just be like, oh, I have free time, I'm just gonna like work on the business, I'm gonna work on more stuff, which isn't always the most amazing thing. I have been getting better at this lately, with seeing like more friends and doing like fun activities in the evening, rather than being like, oh, I have free time, I'm gonna like continue doing work. This is kind of a great time to go into another point, which is giving yourself the time and allowing yourself to enjoy doing like fun hobbies or activities. I am, or have in the past, been super bad with this. I still am not amazing. Really allowing myself to enjoy that time when I'm not doing work and focusing on fun activities that I like doing. My best advice, if you also struggle with this, is to write a list of like your hobbies and your fun things that you enjoy doing. Like it could be cooking or baking, which is one of mine. I love doing that stuff. Or I love painting or photography, like, you know, whatever it is, write a list out. And then if you are struggling with what to do, you're like, okay, I have this list, I can go look at my list and like pick one of the things off there and do that. And I think a really hard side of this is if you do work a lot and you have trouble like turning off from work and you're like, I should be working on this. Like, I feel like this is way more common than people like talk about it, because you have this guilt mindset where you're like, I should be working on something, and it's like you have to work really hard to try and be like, no, this is how I'm balancing my life out. This is how like I'm gonna keep myself like happy and content by like giving myself this time and just letting yourself, like really letting yourself just enjoy that relaxation time. I know this is much easier said than done. I feel like the more you do it, the better you become with that like right headspace for when you are trying to relax and really enjoy that relaxation time. Balance in eating habits, and maybe also your mindset. Of course, because food, it's such a big topic, I think, especially for women as well. Like the amount of eating disorders and dysmorphia, like you name it, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can have like issues with. So if you're really struggling with something like that, like please see a professional. You will thank yourself in 10 years. 10 years you'll look back on that and you'll be like, thank gosh I went and saw someone. So I encourage you, if you're having serious problems, go and see if you're having serious problems. This one is an interesting one because balance can mean different things to everyone, and often people, I think especially in the online world, some people have like very like defined beliefs about like what a balanced diet is, what should be considered healthy, and I don't want to advocate for anything because everyone is different, and not just that, but everyone is at different stages in their life with their diet, their relationship to food. And I think a great place to start is just defining what balanced, healthy eating habits, like what you believe they are, and starting there, because like a lot of things, they all start in your mental headspace. And on the topic of balance, I think it's really important that we give ourselves times where we do enjoy the sometimes foods. Like, I don't even want to call them like bad foods or unhealthy foods. They're just sometimes foods, because it's like we have them occasionally. Like, we're still allowed to have them, but we're just reframing what we're calling them, because I think calling them like bad foods or like you're not allowed to eat them, like I think it's a very negative way to look at them, and I think it doesn't help with our brains when we're trying to process like how we view the foods, because we want to try and keep our mental headspace in a good place. And I think as a very important part is like watching how you talk to yourself about food as well. And I guess also in the vein of this sort of thing, not being too hard on yourself, because no one's perfect. We're all trying to be perfect. Like, we're only human. We're gonna make mistakes sometimes. Like, we're gonna, I don't know, fall back on our progress, maybe not be where we want to be. So try not to be too hard on yourself, and just try to get like back on track with like with the goals that you're heading towards, or the progress that you're trying to make. Your mental health. I feel like this is a very big thing. We've already touched on it a couple times now. I think once again, knowing what you consider to be like you being in a good mental health headspace compared to when you're not, I think defining that and knowing what that is a really good place to start. From there, knowing the things that you can do, because once again, everyone's different. We all do different things to be in a good headspace, or there are like things that we know that like don't help. So knowing what those things are and being aware of them, I think is super important, because if you know that like journaling helps you with your headspace, maybe you're like, okay, this should be a habit that's like I want to do daily to help me to feel good. I think it's also super important to practice self-love and gratitude, because this kind of stuff really helps you to see things in a positive outlook. Now, balance. You're not going to be happy and cheery all the time, because that's just not how humans work. We have downs to have highs. That is the nature of life. But I think it's really important that you be kind to yourself. The fact that you have these down times, knowing that it's okay and that things will get better. It's okay, and not being so hard on yourself that you feel like down or whatever you're feeling. On that note as well, knowing what makes you feel better. I think this is really important. So whether that's like gratitude, reading a nice book, spending time outside, spending time with family, like knowing those things and being able to be like, okay, I'm not feeling great. I should look at my list and do one of those things. Like I mentioned before, seeing a therapist or using a platform like BetterHelp is an amazing way to support your mental health, especially if you struggle with it, if you have any sort of diagnosis. I think it just helps so much. So if you can afford to do that, I think it is an amazing way to support yourself. I'm a huge advocate because I go and see a therapist myself. On that vein is like self-care, and once again, knowing the kind of stuff that you like to do to take care of yourself, whether that is things like journaling, taking a nice bath, or enjoying a good book. Once again, just knowing those things is super helpful for when you need. Also, carving out time for self-care I think is also super important, because if you are someone that works a lot or has a very fast-paced living life, even just scheduling that is going to help you so much, because instead of just waiting until you absolutely feel burnt out and you need some downtime, scheduling that in before you get to that extreme state will help you to live that little bit more balanced life, and you're being preventative instead of reactive to things. There are a lot of interesting topics in here. Let's start the conversation down in the comments. If there's anything you want to chat about or share about for anyone in this lovely community that I've built, please, leave a comment. Let's start chatting about this kind of stuff, because I think it's super important in your life to live. Well, that's the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a Merry Christmas as well, because it's Christmas time, and a Happy New Year. And I will see you guys, oh my gosh, in the new year for lots of fun new videos. I hope you're excited. Lots of traveling vlogs are coming up, so stay tuned for them. Click that subscribe button and the little bell to be notified for those videos, because they are going to be exciting. Going on tour again with a circus performing troupe, because that's what I do. I'm a circus performer as well, so stay tuned for them. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye! For the thumbnail.